Friends, there are a variety of aspects that go into doing a retirement planner. But there are lots of mistakes people make while doing their retirement planner as well. We're going to look at the top 10 mistakes that people make while planning their retirement. First up is relating to estimation of their expenses. Most people actually in life don't know how much of money they spend on their daily living. So they come up with all sorts of fancy numbers. Too low a number will mean you're compromising your long-term retirement need. Too high a number will mean that you're saving for the future while avoiding to live today. So it's extremely important to get a proper fix of your expenses. Also important is to find what are those unknown expenses that may come up once you retire. Now, what do I mean by this? You are likely as you grow older to incur a higher expenditure on your medicine and on stuff like that than on things like going to a dinner, going to a restaurant, going to a movie kind of expenses. So some of these expenses will change with time. It's important to have a reasonably good fix on this. That's what I mean by estimation. So the first place to start is to get a proper estimate of what your cash flow needs will be once you retire. Second, inflation is a big killer, my friend, especially in a country like India developing where we have very, very high inflation. So if you take numbers without inflation, then in the long term, you will have to live a very compromised life because the money will not be enough for all your needs. So many a times we find that people have estimated their retirement without considering retirement, and given that your post-retirement period is likely to be 20, 30, 40 years, you need to take inflation because it has a big, big role to play. Third, as people retire, they get to a point of not wanting to take risk, playing it safe. Now that's a good idea in principle, but what happens to playing safe is also that the returns drops. With safety comes lower return. So the best idea is to mix some risk and some safety, both put together. That way you get a reasonable amount of return without taking all the risks. Fourth, as you retire, you get out of the corporate medical insurance cover that you've always enjoyed. So it's a good time now to revisit your health insurance, medical insurance cover. That's one thing that is a must-have. So if people have not done it before, that's that point now to revisit it. And do not take the basic cover, take a slightly higher cover because over a period of the next 10-15 years, that cover will be needed. So medical insurance is one more thing one must make while one gets started with retirement planning. The other thing which I often find is people always overestimating the time they have. They always say, I have enough time. The most common excuse that people give for why they don't do these retirement planning is because they always believe they have more time. But believe you me that it moves quickly from having a lot of time to I should have done it earlier. That's what retirement planning is all about. So the earlier you start, the better it is, and there is absolutely never too early when it comes to this. So be on time. For all expenses, we may not have an idea today. So it's a good idea to have a contingency built into it for things that we don't know. For example, you may still plan for your daughter's wedding, but you don't know that you will have to visit your granddaughter in USA twice a year. That's something that you may not know today. But it's a good idea, therefore, to keep some contingency so that you can provide for it at a later date. Many investors have assets diversified across. So they are very, very asset rich. They have illiquid assets. But as you retire, you need to ensure that you have assets that are not only asset rich but also liquidity rich, because it's time to realize value of your investments. Retirement is that period. You're not going to stay invested beyond retirement and hope that somebody else will enjoy the fruits. So extremely important not to just be asset rich, but be also liquidity rich. That's what we mean. The next one, the 8th point, is about longevity. Now, many people don't give too much of thought to this, but reality is that we don't control our fate. With medical advances at a rapid pace, it's more likely that we're going to live longer than we think. And it's extremely important that the retirement planning must take into account this aspect, because we will live from the day we retire for the next 10-15 years. We'll all have enough money. It's really the next 15-20 years that is important. So if you say retire at 60 to 75 is more likely to be easy for most of us. It's really from that 75 to 90 that one needs to stretch their money, and the retirement planning needs to consider that longevity in life very, very crucially. Many a times retirement needs to take specific focus at what it's going to provide for the partner. In the event of one of the spouse not being there, how is the partner going to carry it forward? Especially, is that partner aware financially of what is there, what is not there, how easy it is for them to consider. So when you construct a retirement plan, make sure that both the spouses understand what it takes to handle it and both are comfortable with it. Exceptionally important. Last but not the least, as we grow older, we need to ensure our assets are more and more consolidated and are in a place where our next generation can handle it quite easily. Please understand that our children do not have the time. So after our time, if you have 3 properties in 3 different destinations, it's extremely difficult for our children to come and manage it on our behalf and realize value from it. So it's good to kind of consolidate assets and keep it in a place where after our time, it's easy for them to kind of use it and convert it and use it in the manner in which they need to use it. These are the 10 points that I have observed where sometimes we can have better diligence and hopefully come up with a better retirement plan.